Most of us know exactly what we should be doing. Like we should be studying, going to the gym, starting that side project that we keep putting off. But when it's time to actually do it, we don't. And so we just procrastinate, like we distract ourselves with our phones, scrolling on social media, or anything that feels easier than the hard thing that's in front of us. But what if there's a way to force ourselves to do the hard things so we can actually reach the goals that actually matter to us? And that's where this book comes in, Can't Hurt Me by David Goggins. And in this video, I'll share with you the 3 things that I've taken away from the book to help force yourself to do the hard things to actually reach your goals. Because here's the truth, if you keep on avoiding doing hard things, then you'll just keep putting off your studying and you'll skip the gym and leave that side project unfinished. And a year from now, you'll still be stuck in the same place. But if you can force yourself to do the hard things, then that's when everything changes and you'll start seeing progress and you'll finally get the result that you've been trying to achieve. Now, most of the goals that we set for ourselves, like whether it's passing a big exam, starting a YouTube channel, or losing weight and living a healthy lifestyle, are hard. And they require stepping out of our comfort zones. But the thing is, modern life has made us too comfortable. Like if you think about it, we can order food without even leaving our couch, and we can work, scroll Instagram, and binge watch Netflix videos without ever having to stand up from our seat. And everything has become so convenient. But I'm not saying that these conveniences are bad, because they definitely make our lives much easier. And I wouldn't want to go back to a time without those things. But the problem is, all this comfort has made most of us soft because we've become so used to easy and convenient things that whenever we experience even the slightest bit of discomfort is we run away from it and we complain about how hard things are. But the truth is, the goals that really matter in life are hard. And what happens is when we set out to achieve them, we suddenly face a gap between how hard our goals are and how easy our lives have become. And that gap is what makes our goals feel harder to achieve and why we feel stuck. But David Goggins says that the way to close that gap is to callous the mind. Just like when you go to the gym and lift weights for the first time, your hands will feel sore because you don't have calluses yet on your hands, but as time goes on, those calluses form on your hands and lifting becomes less painful. And it's the same with your mind. Like when you do hard things every day, you build mental calluses, and obviously it will hurt the first few times. It will feel unbearable, but over time, your tolerance for pain and discomfort grows. And what once felt hard now starts to feel more manageable. And it says in the book, the first step on the journey toward a calloused mind is stepping outside your comfort zone on a regular basis. Doing things, even small things that make you uncomfortable, will help make you strong. The more often you get uncomfortable, the stronger you'll become, and soon you'll develop a more productive can-do dialogue with yourself in stressful situations. And Chris Williamson from the Modern Wisdom podcast, he puts it in another way when he had David Goggins in his podcast, and this is what he said.
Well, unchosen suffering is going to happen, right? So the only thing that you can do is have some chosen suffering to prepare for it.
It's the only thing you can do. That's the only thing you can practice for the unchosen suffering. Is that chosen suffering. Do something that sucks every day.
And so the only way to prepare for unchosen suffering in life, like when you fail an exam or when you don't get the job or when you make YouTube videos and nobody's watching it, is to practice chosen suffering, like doing hard things on purpose every day. And that way, when life hits you with something that you didn't choose, you'll be more than ready. And there's even science behind it. Like Andrew Huberman explains that when you do hard things, is you activate a part of your brain that helps you handle pain, effort, and hard challenges in life. And here's what he said.
Most people don't know this, but there's a brain structure called the anterior mid-cingulate cortex. As we pointed out before, that's a noun, it's a name, it doesn't mean anything. We could call it the cookie monster.
Right.
But what's interesting about this brain area is there are now a lot of data in humans, not some mouse study, showing that when people do something they don't want to do, like add 3 hours of exercise per day or per week, or when people who are trying to diet and lose weight resist eating something.
Right.
When people do anything that and this is the important part, that they don't want to do.
Right.
It's not about adding more work, it's about adding more work that you don't want to do.
Yes.
This brain area gets bigger.
Yep.
Now here's what's especially interesting about this brain area to me. And by the way, I'm only learning this recently because it's new data, but there's a lot of it. The anterior mid-cingulate cortex is smaller in obese people. It gets bigger when they diet. It's larger in athletes. It's especially large or grows larger in people that see themselves as challenged and overcome some challenge.
Right.
And in people that live a very long time, this area keeps its size. In many ways, scientists are starting to think of the anterior mid-cingulate cortex not just as one of the seats of willpower,
right,
but perhaps actually the seat of the will to live.
And so what this means is that if you want to achieve the big and hard goals that matter most to you, you need to start doing something that sucks every day. By callousing your mind, you can then shrink the gap between the comfort that you're used to and the hard work that your goals will ask from you. And to be honest, I made this video as much for myself as for anyone else because I've been stuck in a rut for weeks, maybe even years, especially with my health, and I really wanted to lose weight and live a healthy life so I can have the time and energy to enjoy life with my wife and my daughter. But I have kept choosing the easy path, like eating junk food, overeating, skipping the gym. And when I lose control with my health, like it spills over into everything else. Like I lose focus, I procrastinate, and I scroll mindlessly on my phone instead of working on my goals. So if you're in that same place where you're feeling stuck and you're facing a hard goal that you can't seem to get closer to, I hope this video helps you as well. So when I was studying for one of the hardest exams in my medical career, the internal medicine board exam, or the PSBIM, a few years ago, I started review season like full of energy. I had 3 months to prepare. And in those first weeks, I was excited, motivated, and even very eager to prove to myself that I could rank first in the exam. And at that point, positive thoughts kept me going. And I would tell myself that I was doing it for my family, for my future patients, and for my own growth. And in the beginning, that was enough. But by the halfway point, things started to change. I was running low on energy. The same motivations that fired me up in the beginning, they stopped working. And I would think about my family or my goals. And instead of feeling inspired, I would just felt tired. I was burned out. And I tried to push through by forcing myself to stay positive, but it wasn't working anymore. And that's when I found myself at one of the lowest points of my studying for the exam. And I remember I was searching desperately for motivation videos on YouTube. And that's actually when I first came across David Goggins. And one video in particular stood out. It was about a concept that he calls taking souls. And the idea is simple. And it's that when people start to doubt you, discourage you, or try to pull you down, you don't let it break you, but instead you use that energy as fuel so you can work harder and give it your all and do your best. And you succeed not just for yourself, but to prove them wrong and to take their respect. And it reminded me of a quote from Stoicism, and it said, "Whatever you throw on top of the fire becomes fuel for the fire." You use whatever you can as fuel. Like everything is fuel. And it also reminded me of Michael Jordan in The Last Dance. There was a clip that said that he used to invent stories in his head, like imagining that someone trash talked him, just so he could channel that anger into fuel to dominate that player and win the game. And here's the clip.
In Chicago, LeBradford Smith scores 37 points against Michael Jordan. He said that LeBradford Smith, walking out of the gym, had said, "Nice game, Mike." You knew that this wasn't going to go down well.
Next night, they play in Washington.
He took such umbrage at a guy saying, "Nice game, Mike," that he torched and humiliated him in front of 20,000 people. Fast forward to decades past the incident, and there's a rumor that this never happened. LeBradford Smith never put his arm around Mike and said, "Nice game, Mike." A couple of writers went up to Michael and said, "Did this ever happen?" And Michael, with a smile, just like, "No, I made it up." There's nothing he would not do to get himself to the place where he's going to beat you.
And that's what taking souls is about. It's about finding fuel when your usual reasons to keep going, they don't work anymore. And it's about taking whatever negativity that comes your way, whether it's people doubting you or your own feelings of burnout, and turning it into something that pushes you forward instead of holding you back. Now, most of the time when we are trying to achieve a goal, we reach a point where we tell ourselves that that's it, I've given it my all, I can't take it anymore, maybe I should just quit. And David Goggins calls this voice inside our heads the governor. Like, it's like a limiter in our mind that tells us when we are in pain, when we are insecure, or when it's time to stop. And here's how he puts it in the book. Our governor is buried deep in our minds, intertwined with our very identity. It knows what and who we love and hate. It's read our whole life story and forms the way we see ourselves and how we'd like to be seen. It's the software that delivers personalized feedback in the form of pain and exhaustion, but also fear and insecurity. And it uses all of that to encourage us to stop before we risk it all. But here's the thing, it doesn't have absolute control. Unlike the governor in an engine, ours can stop us unless we buy into its bullshit and agree to quit. Sadly, most of us give up when we've only given around 40% of our maximum effort. Even when we feel like we've reached our absolute limit, we still have 60% more to give. And that's the governor in action. Once you know that to be true, it's simply a matter of stretching your pain tolerance, letting go of your identity and all your self-limiting stories so you can get to 60% and then 80% and beyond without giving up. And I call this a 40% rule. And the reason it's so powerful is that if you follow it, you will unlock your mind and your level of performance and excellence in sports and in life, and your rewards will run far deeper than mere material success. And actually, when I first heard that, I thought, isn't that just lying to yourself? Like telling yourself that you're only at 40% when you feel like you've already given everything? But the truth is, it makes all the difference. Like, because the alternative is believing that you've truly hit your limit, that you've given your best and there's nothing left. And if your best still isn't enough, that's when people give up. And the 40% rule flips that. Like, instead of stopping when you feel done, you remind yourself that there's still more left in the tank. And I use this all the time, like when I'm lifting weights, running on the treadmill, or even studying for an exam and I feel like I've got nothing left, I remind myself that this is just 40%. There's still more in the tank. And usually once I try to push a little further, I find out that it's true. And what I thought was my limit wasn't really my limit. And that's what the 40% rule does. Like, it helps you push past that first wall or limit and see that you're more capable of more than you thought, not just in the gym or in the exams, but in anything hard you're trying to do. And now that you know how to force yourself to do hard things like studying, the next question is, how do you actually study more effectively, and how do you learn anything much faster? And if you're interested in that, then you might like to check out this video over here. It has 3 things that you can do to study much faster and more effectively. Now, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in that video. Bye.